Well, good morning, and a nice seat by the fire. This morning, of course, we had those thunderstorms overnight, lots of lightning and thunder, and lots of rain. Let's hope that that disappears throughout today. I'm going to visit Haywards Heath today. I haven't been there for a while, and I was always fascinated by the fact that the Battle of Haywards Heath was so key to the survival of Lewis during the English Civil War. The Roundheads assembled a force at Haywards Heath to fight off an attack by the Royalists, who were trying hard to establish and influence a base in southeast England, and had centred on Lewis as being a very important town at that time, but also a Puritan stronghold, to attack. But the Roundheads, the Puritans, the Cromwellians, call them what you will, managed to accost them at Haywards Heath. There was a battle at Haywards Heath, and the Royalists limped off the field, having lost about 200 men. The historians say that there is no evidence of any artillery being used, and I suppose that was peculiar because it was the day of the cannon, I suppose, when people were beginning to realise just how important that was in a military sense. Anyway, I'm off to Haywards Heath, not to fight, I hope, but actually to take somebody to hospital, and I've been to that hospital many a time. They have looked after my Parkinson's there from time to time, so I know it a bit. As you do when you get over 35, you start to get to know these hospitals. And it's hospitals, or at least it's the NHS that I want to talk about this morning, I want to rant about. I seriously wish that people would start or stop actually thinking macro and start to think micro. Everybody wants to expand, and it's ending in disaster. Now, the plan in Lewis is to have a big central clinic where all the dentists will be gathered and all the doctors will be gathered and so on and so forth. Now, there is a strong argument to say with that is that if they put all their eggs in one basket, as it were, there will be money to buy super-duper equipment, stuff that individually the doctors' clinics, surgeries, and the dentist surgeries, as they exist at the moment, couldn't afford. I understand that, but I don't think necessarily that it calls for massive clinics. And I want to see my doctor. Now, let me make it clear. I have got a very, very good doctor. In fact, I've got a very good consultant as well. I have no axe to grind with most of the people who work for the NHS, and particularly from Battle to Brighton. Not that I've had a lot of intercourse, as it were, with the doctors and the medical people in Battle, and I hope I never will. And nothing against Battle doctors, but certainly the local people that I've been privileged to deal with have been pretty damn good, with one or two exceptions. That I have no problem with at all. What I have the problem with is the system, and the system at the moment doesn't work. Everybody over 65, I think it's over 65, but let's be generous and say it's over 70, gets a letter saying that they have a dedicated doctor. Now, perhaps some people don't understand what that means, but what it does mean is as you get older and you tend to get more things wrong with you, you have one doctor who knows all about you and can look after you, and on a day-to-day basis or a week-to-week basis or a month-to-month basis, because they are totally familiar with your particular issue, and they don't just tap into a computer and read somebody else's notes. So I went in on Saturday morning because I thought it won't be too busy, and indeed it wasn't, but there was only one receptionist on, whom I didn't know, and I know most of them. She didn't seem terribly interested in what I had to say. She was looking more at why they couldn't rather than why they could, although she did look through the computer and proudly announced, I'm terribly sorry, but you can't see your doctor, your designated doctor, for 2 weeks. She's all booked up. Well, now, why did somebody say that I've got a designated doctor if when I'm a little poorly, I can't see her? It's crazy. It's crazy. Somebody thought up a good system. It's an excellent system. It's good thinking, which sometimes is rare in some of these organizations, but it doesn't work. So if you're going to think up a system, the damn thing has got to work. And if it doesn't work, then go back to the drawing board and say, how do we make it work? And making it work is not having a battery of receptionists who will not recognize me to begin with whom I would not be prepared to discuss anything, because there is a big sign up in the surgery saying, if there are smaller things, please talk to the receptionists. And because of the overwhelming demand for NHS services, that it makes the news that receptionists are discreetly able to talk to people and perhaps sort something out for them without bothering a doctor. I understand all that. But the fact of the matter is, if I want to see my designated doctor at the invitation of the NHS, at the invitation of the surgery, then the system must allow me to. And am I being selfish? No, I'm not. Because I'm going on the system as it works. Sorry, not as it works, as it's planned. And all I'm doing is following what I'm asked to follow. And it is very comforting to see the same doctor, because I have complete and utter confidence in her. She sorted out 2 or 3 things for me. I've seen 1 or 2 of her colleagues. They're okay, but they don't know me from Adam. And so, therefore, when I start to talk about things which may have happened in the past or references, these doctors, they just give me a blank stare. Now, the other thing is, when this huge clinic opens up, is am I going to be able to meet a receptionist that I know? And if there is a big bank of receptionists, what's it going to look like? In my mind, I've sort of got it a bit like shuffling forward to show your ticket and your passport at an airport. And eventually when you've done that, is they stamp something and on you go and you get on board the aircraft. And I've got a feeling that I'm going to shuffle forward, and that's the way that I actually get into to see my doctor. And it may be that it's because now there will be 20 doctors and a dozen dentists and so on and so forth. Well, I mean, I'm underestimating, of course. There'll be 50 or 60 doctors, I suppose. There'll be 40 or 50 dentists. And that all sounds terrific, doesn't it? Except you don't get the one that you're used to. You don't get the one that knows something about you. You don't get the one that can treat you when you've got your little tweaks, your little mannerisms, the little things that are peculiar to you. So if you're going to introduce NHS a system, make sure it works. And because they can't make this work, I have grave doubts, based on the fact that we've now got a complete disaster when you talk about the merger of district councils, is that this is going to work. I think that it's not been planned out, it's not been thought out, it's just let's get bigger, because somehow it's going to be better. We'll have more money to play with. Well, that's great, play with your money by all means. Get your money. But please, put in place a system that works. And on current evidence, I don't think that this new one is going to. But what a disaster when we find out that it isn't. So, go back to the drawing board, NHS. and the doctors who support it, and talk it through some more, because I have really grave doubts that you've got something that is going to benefit us, the patient. Remember us? Toodle pip.